Okay guys, in this video we're going to look at creating some pads, but before we do that, I first just want to show you some of the settings that we haven't covered yet. So I'll open up this new version of the Sample Manager and we see we have the settings here, and we have choose folder for rendered files, and at the moment it's set to custom folder, or we can set it to originals. We've then got export database, and then we've got restore tags. So choosing a custom folder, it means that when we go and make edits or trim our clips, and then we drag these into the project, like I'll show you in a second, then what it's going to do is it's going to save those rendered files to either a custom location or with the original files. So if I choose a custom location, I could choose wherever we want. I'm just going to choose samples, and I'll show you that in a second. But then we can also export our database, and what this does is it creates a zip file for us, so we can use this to move our ADSR Sample Manager files around, and it's going to keep our database intact. Finally, we've got export tags, and that's if you go deleting the stock tags, the ones that are already here. If I look at all of these tags, we can actually delete these. Or if you've got custom tags that you want to restore, then you can do that using this button here. And you can see it gives you some options to restore deleted tags, restore deleted user tags, rescan all your libraries, or permanently delete all of your user tags. So be careful with this because you can't really undo it. So let's have a look at what I was talking about then with our trimmed clips. If we go to our favorites, we've got this one that I quite liked. So what we can do is we can trim this. Okay, so let's trim this to around here, and we could trim it right to this section here, but I want to show you something. So we'll trim it to there. We'll set this to stop. Just here. Okay, so that's now been trimmed, and what I can do is I can actually pull that into the project just by grabbing this crosshair and dropping it in. And you can see now, instead of being an entire clip, it's truncated it or trimmed it, and it will now be saved in that destination that we selected here. So we can now play with the sample and edit it, and you can hear it's not in time, so all we have to do is hit warp. We can get rid of that last bit there, which is not what we want, so it's just out of our loop. We can turn loop on. In fact, what we'll do is we'll set this to 2 bars, and we could actually quickly go and do some clip volume modulation if we wanted to, just to get rid of that. And let's see how that now sounds. We'll call it bass stab. Let's move it so it sounds a bit nicer. And we'll just push this into some reverb. And we'll also push it into this echo as well. Okay, so let's now add in our pads. So I'm going to insert a new MIDI track. I'll rename it pad. We'll open up the Sample Manager and we'll go for something melodic. And you can see we've still got loads of different options here. So we'll go for a few of these. Okay, so we need to get something a bit more pad-like. So let's just add that pad tag. And as you can see, we've still got loads here because it's set to OR logic. So we'll change that to AND. We've now got 3 options. Okay, so let's give that some reverb. Okay, so we can either play this in, but I'm just going to put in a C2. And we'll work quite quickly now. So we've got a C2 there. And then what I'm going to do before I duplicate this to have another pad that we can mix into it, we'll just see how it sounds. So this will work nicely in the breakdown. If we go to our user library, we'll take pad 1. And what I'll do is I'll just go through these effects. So we've got a chorus which is going to thicken it up and make it sound like there's more than one voice. We've got the overdrive which is going to give it more body and weight. We've then got to compensate with that by removing some of the low end so it doesn't mask our kick and bass. We can then push it out into the sides. We've then got a filter which we'll use to automate it later. And then we've got a compressor to make it bounce and give it some groove. So let's now duplicate that. We'll call this one pad 2. And all we're going to do is move this up maybe a fifth, which is 7 semitones. So it's now on G. And let's just see how they sound together. What we'll do is we'll mix one into the other. Okay, so that is the pads now in the project. We've now got all the parts we need, and in the next video what we'll do is we'll look at the arrangement and automation.